Kakadosh, Boker Or, Bekiim Bahalacha 2, day 22. We're starting a new Siman today, and we're going to start the Siman of Siman Bet, which is talking about Levishat Begadim. We're talking about putting on clothing. So let's start. Okay, this is page 77, Halacha Aleph, right? Modesty while dressing. It is important for everyone to act modestly whenever dressing or undressing. So whenever you're going to get dressed or undressed, you do it modestly. One must not say, I'm in the privacy of my locked room and no one can see me. We must remain aware that the Blessed One is present everywhere in the universe and that he sees through the darkness as well as in the light. Okay? Therefore, if someone sleeps, right, without clothing, he must not sit up and uncover himself before he puts on his underclothing. He should put them on while he's still lying under his blanket so that he will be clothed when he climbs out of bed, right? Remember that even though nowadays it sounds very weird, if you remember, we learned already in Mishnayot and Kiddushin, they always used to sleep like that, right? They used to sleep without clothing. Pajamas never existed, okay? Afterwards, many things in history started existing just to make more money, right? So therefore, this is one of the things as well. So now you have to have a pajamas, you have to have this and then that. Why? So that way, they have it. Fine. 65. Maran writes in the Shulchan Aruch 2:1, one must not sit up before putting on one's gown. Instead, he must insert his head and arms into the gown while he's still prone, so that way, when he gets up, he's going to be covered. And Mishnah explained that it's referring to someone who's unclothed under his bed sheets. Before climbing out of bed, he must insert his head and arms into the gown so that he will be clothed the moment that he gets up. Now, the question is it an obligation or just some, recommended? So he says, the Igrot Moshe asserted that there's no halachic obligation for men to go clothing their entire bodies, but is highly recommended behavior. Even when someone is in total privacy, by remaining clothed, one demonstrates one's awareness of Hashem's presence. Even when going to a restroom, one should not undress until one is about to sit on the toilet. Therefore, during the era when it was common for people to sleep, right, without clothing under a blanket, the Halachah recommended that they undress while under their covers and to put on their gowns before throwing off the covers. He repeated this in also volume 3 as well. So the Igrot Moshe spoke about it in 2 different places. In contrast, the Mishnah Halachot ruled that these instructions are an absolute obligation. And he argued, and he said that it is a plain understanding of the Talmud, the Bekiim, and the Shulchan Aruch. The Ben Ish Chai said it's several Rishonim who listed modest dressing as one of the Torah commandments, whereas others listed as one of the outstanding traits of the nation of Am Yisrael, highly recommended by the sages. He concluded them to take care to dress modestly, since there are those who ruled that is a Torah obligation. Meaning, it comes out, it's a machloket between the Igrot Moshe and the Mishneh Halachot, right? So the Mishneh Halachot, right, the one of Ungvar, right, the one that he just came recently. So the Bala Mishneh Halachot was his father, Menashe Klein. So he says the Mishneh Halachot, so he comes and he's the one that's saying that it's Medina. The Igrot Moshe says it's a Hidur, right? It's not a Medina. So now it comes out though, but says the Ben Ish Chai, 1 second, but since it's a machloket, some people consider it a mitzvah min Torah, or some people just say that it's a high, reason why we're so respected and we're so important. So therefore comes the Ben Ish Chai, right? And he says that obviously a person should be very, very careful in doing so. What about now if it's going to be in a case of discomfort? Yeah, some people, they're relaxed, they're able to even, sometimes, people could even sleep in chairs nowadays, right? But what happens in a case, right? What happens in a case? Yeah, you saw that. So what happens now in a case? Yeah, he says, what happens right now in a case where it's not comfortable? It's going to start to... So he says, suppose that it's extremely hot, and a man who normally wears a regular shirt wishes to go about sleeveless. According to the Igrot Moshe, it's going to be permitted. One is not expected to observe, right, voluntarily halachot when it causes great discomfort. It may be, however, that according to the Mishnah, halachot will be forbidden even in those circumstances. Halakha Berurah ruled in favor of the Igrot Moshe regarding the matter, and therefore, if someone feels uncomfortable when sleeping under a blanket, or if one finds it different physically to dress under the covers, he may be lenient. Okay, so the Halakha Berurah was posek lakel. The author claimed that his father, the Rishon LeZion, concurred with this, and the Piskei Teshuvot likewise concurred with the Igrot Moshe. So it comes out that everyone was going lekula, not like the Ben Ish Chai. The Ben Ish Chai ruled that one must make sure to lock the door while using the restroom, pointing out to the seven mitzvot katan and other Rishonim counted modest behavior as one of the mitzvot of the Torah. This seems to support the position of the Mishnah Halachot, unless we differentiate between dressing in one's bedroom where one is differently in private, and using a restroom where it's possible for other people to enter. Meaning a person should come and make sure that the door is locked. Okay? Fine. Defining modest behavior. Okay, the Igrot Moshe stated that our sage's definition of modest dress is not the same, is not that one must go about all day and night as one would be expected here in a king's palace, or the one must dress in a private as one would dress when in presence of ordinary strangers. Although we must remain aware of Hashem's presence, Halachot demands that we dress as if it appearing in Hashem's palace, only when praying Amidah. As the Shulchan Aruch ruled, and at other times one is expected to dress in a manner that is respectable, so not to be embarrassed in the presence of ordinary people. He added that when it was very hot, there's no obligation to observe the standard either, since everyone, including Hashem, understands the situation. Regardless of the circumstances, it is forbidden to expose one's genitals. So obviously you cannot expose your private parts, but other than that, there's no problem. What? There's no problem. We'll speak about it after. Okay. In contemporary times, the Shulchan Aruch, right, described this halacha for a society where it's common to sleep, right, without clothing. For this reason, it is imperative that they had a robe or a gown before climbing out of the covers. In our times, most people sleep in pajamas, right, or at least their underclothing. If someone wishes to change from pajamas into underwear, would he be obligated to change under the covers? The Mishabra, however, seems to differ. It says that one must not expose any part of the body that one normally keeps covered. One may reveal one's arms up to the elbows, his throat to the chest, right? In countries where people always wear socks, he should put them under the cover as well, without exposing his bare feet. So for this is the Mishnah Berurah. Look how strict the Mishnah Berurah is. Despite these instructions, it may be that circumstances today allow for some leniency in the matter. In Europe of those days, most families lived in one-room homes. Since the others in the house were present in the room, it was important to dress without exposing itself at all. In our times, when families have several bedrooms, it could be that when someone is alone in his bedroom, he can relax the standard of dressing somewhat. On the other hand, it does not appear that the Igrot Moshe agreed with this logic. Halakha permits being unclothed only in a bathhouse since it's necessary for bathing, but not in a bedroom. Meaning in a bathhouse, right, in a shower. For sure you're going to be without clothing. Nobody told you had to go in a bath, right, with a bathing suit. Nobody told you that in the world. It doesn't exist. You understand? But he says, but in a bedroom. One second. So he says, it might be, though, however, that there's room for leniency since it takes considerable effort to dress under the covers. Indeed, the Igrot Moshe commented that if it takes much longer to dress while under a blanket and one is in a hurry, right, to go to work or to study Torah, he says there's a basis for leniency. Likewise, he wrote that if a woman finds difficulty to dress neatly while under a blanket, she may be lenient. It appears that we may rely on these leniencies as well. The Bekiim Kanievsky ruled that if someone is careful to keep himself covered while he changes from his pajamas to his clothes, he will receive a special blessing from heaven. Likewise, it is permissible to expose one's bare feet in places in a hot climate such as this in Eretz Yisrael. He warned that one must make sure never to expose the legs above the knees or the arms above the elbows, however. So again, this is talking about again in general. So that means Bekiim Kanievsky, it sounds like he was going like the Mishnah Berurah, but he just said that obviously nowadays you could expose your feet, but not above the knees, and the elbows, right, until the elbows, basically, your arms until the elbows. What about sandals or flip-flops? The Or Letzion stated that since our society, people do not go on the street barefoot, one must not go about barefoot, even one's home. In the footnote, he pointed out the Mishnah Berurah rule that one must put on socks under the covers. The schedule rule that one may go out without, while in the house barefoot, but only when it is very hot and is uncomfortable otherwise. Despite these poskim, there's a basis to permit going around without socks. The Mishnah Berurah cited the Rabbi, explaining that in Mediterranean countries, one may go about barefoot since that is a common practice. Even in Mediterranean countries such as the land of Israel, this ruling may vary according to the neighborhood in which one lives. In neighborhoods that are exclusively Haredi, ultra-Orthodox, no one goes about in sandals without socks, and certainly not in shorts. In those neighborhoods where it's the norm to dress in this manner, right, he says, however, it's probably acceptable according to the Halachah as well. And the Maran Nishon ruled that one may pray in the Amidah while wearing a shirt and with very short sleeves, but he must not be the Chazan. Likewise, one must pray while wearing short pants in communities where the manner of dress is accepted, but one may not serve as the Chazan. Obviously, in those communities, it is not considered a breach of modesty to dress in this manner. Meaning it all depends on the society. Okay? No. Yeah, it may be that the Or Letzion and the Rishon LeZion did not disagree with one another. The former wrote Halachah regarding a totally Haredi neighborhood, such as the one which was the author frequented all his life, He would agree that in other communities it might be permissible, even without socks or in short pants. All this with notwithstanding, it behooves each person to attempt to always dress in a dignified manner of someone who devoted to Torah and to mitzvot, right? To do with bare feet, as mentioned, right? As we already mentioned above, the Mishnah rule that one must keep one's feet under the covers until one's done socks. That means you put on your socks. This does not apply in communities where people go about all day without socks, in sandals. In fact, the Piskei Teshuvot cited the Aruch HaShulchan ruling that it's permissible to climb out of bed even before putting on the socks. The author testified that the Chazon Ish and his brother-in-law, Rav Yaakov Kanievsky, did not follow the ruling in Mishnah to put on socks under the blanket. Halachot as well as also ruled leniently. Although the Rishon LeZion cited the ruling in Mishnah in response to Rabbi Omer, he did not mean to suggest that he agrees with it. Meaning, even though Rav Ovadia brought it down, it doesn't mean that he agreed with it, because Halachot also brings down. That means basically you don't have to put your socks under your bed, right, under your covers. You could take, you could put them on afterwards. Okay, fine. The basis for this leniency is that in most communities it is common for people to go about without socks. Even in Haredi communities, people go about barefoot in their own homes. If we add to this fact that there's some hardship involved in donning socks under the covers, again, you have a leniency again. Besides, the Yigro Moshe said that it's all voluntarily. So again, you have more to rely on. So basically, again, you have a few leniencies. Now, first of all, you have those against the Mishnah Berurah, then you have the Yigro Moshe, then you have the difficulties. So then we said that it wasn't mentioned. So fine, you have a few different things. Whenever someone conducts himself respectfully because he wishes to show honor to Hashem, and he displays that Hashem's awareness of Hashem's presence fills the entire universe, he gains the title of somebody who honors it Hashem, mechabed it Hashem. The pasuk says, "I will give honor ki mechabedai achabed," right? I will give honor to those who honor me, and this applies to those people. 66. Those who honor Hashem will be granted long life, as the Gemara says in Brachot, and see more about this in the Shulchan Esh, Siman 85, Siman 88. Last halacha, 2. Modesty while bathing. It is permissible to go about, right, unclothed as necessary in a public bathhouse. I mean, even in a mikveh, which is a public bathhouse, right? We're not talking about in your private bathhouse in your bedroom, right? Like in your, in your washroom, whatever it is, bathroom, right? So he says this is not considered, right, an immodest behavior. It is likewise permissible to bathe one's body in a river. In this case, one must undress just before entering the water, and one must cover one's body immediately upon exiting the water. One must not expose one's, bare body any more than necessary. 67. This is the ruling of the Mishnah Berurah. The response of the Yom Moshe suggested that a person change out of his pajamas in the bathroom so that he will not need to do it under the blanket. It is permissible to be undressed in the bathroom even when one does not intend to bathe, since it's normal to undress when bathing in that room. Meaning, the bathroom is a place where you get dressed and undressed. So you could be there without clothing at any time, even if you're not taking a shower, right? For any reason, you could just be without clothing in the washroom. In a restroom without a bath, though, so now what happens now? There's no bathroom. There's no bath. It's only a toilet, right? That means there's only so he says, however, one must not expose one's body more than necessary to extend to his needs. Chaim Kanievsky ruled more strictly, however, and did not permit undressing in a bathroom unless one actually intends to bathe. Okay? Makes sense. Fine. What about now on the beach, okay, or the poolside? So again, that was the Chumrav of Chaim Kanievsky, but again, you have the Igrot Moshe again that was lenient. What about on the beach? So when relaxing on the beach or poolside, is it permissible for a man to remain bare-chested, even though he has no intention of bathing? Meaning some, he just goes to the beach, but he's not going to have a shirt. So the response has an even a rule, the one that he may wear only a bathing suit if he intends to sunbathe to tan one's skin. If someone wishes only to play ball, he should wear a shirt. This is also the ruling of the Piskei Teshuvot. According to this, if someone simply wishes to take a walk along the beach, he should wear a shirt. Yeah, according to the Shita. The Aznibru emphasizes that one may engage in these activities only when it is necessary to refresh oneself or relax from the stresses of life. Otherwise, he may not take away from time from his Torah study to simply have a good time. In the Yalkut Yosef Berachot, it is explained that it is forbidden to say Birkat Hamazon while dressed in a bathing suit. And we already spoke about this. We actually just learned this also in Smichat Chaver.